Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back your lovely faces to a brand new video here on the channel. As you can tell by the thumbnail and the title, Vanity Fair put out an article regarding Ezra Miller, and some of it is absolutely mind-blowing. So what has been going on with Vanity Fair? They've actually been doing it for around 6 to 7 weeks now. This one person, Julie Miller, she has been doing an investigative report on them, and yeah, it's very, very interesting. So I thought we'd cover it on the channel because obviously, due to what's been going on with AH and everything else, and with the way Ezra Miller has acted outside of their movies, it's very concerning that Warner Brothers would be like, you know what? We're going to keep Ezra on, even though they are causing so much trouble outside of the films. Which, we saw Johnny Depp and we've seen other actors and actresses. They've had a little bit of bad mishap outside of the movie making, and they've been dragged over hot coals. But for some unknown reason, Ezra seems to get away with it. But as you can see by here, this is it. Ezra Miller's Messiah Delusions. Inside the Flash star's dark spiral. They're one of Hollywood's brightest stars and most troubled actors. Amongst safety concerns and anxiety over the fate of a $200 million movie, Vanity Fair unearths disturbing new details in the saga of grandiose sermons. This, and this, and this. That is crazy. But, obviously we are going to be going through it. In 2020, after a video circulated seemingly showing the Flash star Ezra Miller do this to the woman, the actor reportedly believed they were the victim. Miller is best known for starring as the DC Extended Universe's Flash and as Credence in the Fantastic Beasts franchise. The choking incident was among the first of many run-ins Miller would have with authorities. In the video, Miller was shown walking up to a woman, doing this and then doing this to the ground. At the time, Miller was not put under investigation. Miller's future with Warner Brothers has been uncertain recently, though, considering that the allegations against them have become increasingly frequent and serious over the past few months. Yeah, they've become a lot more scary, the allegations and everything else against Ezra. And when you see that Ezra, obviously they are the star of The Flash, $200 million movie, which, when you look at it, it's probably going to come out a lot more than that, considering Mission Impossible 7, starring Tom Cruise, due to the beer bug and what happened and it had to close down, it went from like $170 million up to $300 million. That is insane. Pirates of the Caribbean 4 is still the most expensive film ever made, I believe $340 million, and that was made when there wasn't a pandemic, which is crazy money. But seeing that Warner Brothers, they're still going with The Flash, even though they got rid of a $100 million Batgirl film, which again, we haven't seen Batgirl, we haven't seen any footage, all we saw was behind-the-scenes shots. But they got rid of it because supposedly it was bad. But because The Flash is meant to be a good film, and it's getting great test screening results, and to be honest with you, I do want to see it, mostly because I'm seeing Michael Keaton back as Batman. But I also like Ezra as the Flash. But sadly, when this happened in Iceland, Warner Brothers just kind of went, oh, don't look at this. Look at this over here. That's what they did. And they've continually have done that with every single incident that has come out regarding Ezra. Earlier this year, Miller was arrested for disorderly conduct, and this at a bar in Hawaii. Shortly after they released the couple they were staying with, filed a restraining order against the actor. Several months later, the parents of Takata Ionise filed a temporary order of protection against Miller on behalf of the 18-year-old child, alleging that Miller had did this to her. Miller has had more allegations of this and disorderly conduct raised against them. Most recently, Miller was arrested and charged with felony burglary in Vermont. He nicked a bottle of wine or whiskey or something. You're going into places that you're not meant to be and you're stealing alcohol. It's like, come on. You're an adult. You got money. You're not exactly poor. Go to a shop and buy some. As reported by Vanity Fair, Miller initially claimed that they were the actual victim in this, Miller associates tell the outlet that she heard Miller on the phone with Warner Brothers shortly after the incident, giving their alleged version of the events. And guess what? Miller's rep defends them, claiming that Miller's of this was a spontaneous reaction to being taunted by a group of teenagers about martial arts skills. Recalling the phone call she overheard, the associate states, "It was Warner Brothers, listening and Miller spewing his poor me speech. I'm the one who was hated on. So you have this almost 30-year-old who is a partier telling Warner Brothers that he was the victim." Now, he is what the actual source put down in the article with Vanity Fair. That's why we got it by here. But just the top part. He was taunted by a group of teenagers about martial arts. That's like you're 6 or 7 and you're in literally primary school or young school, kindergarten or whatever. And you're like, "Oh, I'm better than you. I can do this. Whoa, I'm a ninja." And all that bull, you know? So, and let's say he's nearly 30. Well, he is 30. He's like, what the hell is going on? But it gets going a lot more. Hearing Miller's side of the incident certainly is interesting, especially since it differs from what the victim alleged happened. The victim's friend spoke out about the incident. She claimed that her friend and Miller had been talking just moments before the event of the video took place. Her friend made an innocent joke about challenging them to a fight, and that without warning, Miller did this and then spat on her. Yeah, the part they're saying, oh, you know, taunting about mixed martial arts or whatever, it's just like, teenagers? Nah, you're all adults. Come on. Even if Miller's version of the events are true, doing this is not an appropriate response to being taunted or baited. Very true. Miller's claims of being the victim in the incident is in line with them consistently making excuses for their actions. While Miller did apologize for their recent controversies and express that they would be seeking treatment for mental health issues, which is great, which is fantastic, they have not accepted much responsibility for their actions publicly. While Miller certainly should have a chance to tell this side of the story, few of their excuses are actual justifications for their actions. While a Flash star claimed to be the victim in the incident, it is very difficult to justify a 30-year-old person doing this to a woman because they were taunted by a group of teenagers, like we just said. It remains to be seen how Miller will repair their public image following all of these indiscretions. Vanity Fair, though, is where the main articles come from. Over the last 6 weeks, they have spoken to more than a dozen people who have crossed paths with Miller in recent years, some of whom worked closely or lived with the actor on the 95-acre farm in Vermont. Most sources describe Miller's spiral as a conflagration of the mental health issues the actor has acknowledged, along with this and outlandish claims that has raged for more than 2 years. They say the actor verbally and emotionally did those around them and referred to themselves alternately as Jesus and the devil. Someone who became close to Miller about 3 years ago says the actor was open about the EBB and Flo relationship with mental health. The source says that both Miller's issues and hard partying accelerated when the actor wrapped projects and had no schedule. March of 2020, when the world shut down because of this, and Fantastic Beasts halted production, Miller suddenly faced an indefinite amount of downtime. The thing is, with Ezra, there's absolutely no plan, says the source. It's complete chaos. I didn't even know that we were going to Iceland until they said, let's go to Iceland. Which is mad, which is absolutely crazy. It'd be nice to be able to do that, I will say that. But there's so many things coming out regarding this entire situation. Because like we said, Warner Brothers have enabled they've enabled Ezra to do whatever they want to do. Basically, if they, at the first time this happened with the incident in Iceland, Warner Brothers should have shut it down there and then. They should have grabbed Ezra, spoke to Ezra, right, well, what's going on? We can help you, we can do everything we can. That's what should have happened. But instead, Warner Brothers just kind of went, oh, look, guys, yeah, over here, don't worry about Ezra's doing over here, look, we got new trailers. And it kind of worked the first time, but then the second time happened and everyone just kind of went, yeah, we're not going to be doing this anymore. We're going to do what we want and no one can stop us. And obviously, Ezra carried on. But there is, I do have part by here I need to tell you as well before we go into the next slide, is that 3 people who have known Ezra for over a decade, they believe all of the outbursts that's currently been going on is the emotional stress of his parents getting divorced. In 2019, Miller's parents, Marta, a modern dancer, and Robert, his father, a former book publisher, told Miller and his sisters that they were divorcing after decades of marriage. Supposedly, Miller's father quickly remarried, but Ezra didn't start freaking out and losing control of themselves in public until after this happened. But then you got people who, like we got by here, Miller's spokesperson dismisses the idea that the divorce was a key factor. The matters leading up to their recent mental health concerns were a combination of complex stress-related issues. Miller's father did not respond to requests for an interview for this story, but their mother approached her in front of the ad in Vermont in early July, said of the coverage of Miller, "This is what I do like. The betrayal of the supposed media is stunning. It is your job to separate the false from the true." She then ended the conversation. Yeah, I actually agree 100% with his mother with that, because when you see this, it's like, well, yeah, that's what the media is meant to do. But the media, they will literally do anything they can just to sell a story, which we have seen countless times over the last couple of decades now, where they're propaganda. We've seen people who actually own these articles and everything else. They're going against people that they don't like. They try and shut them up. Perfect example is at this moment in time, you've got Christopher Bowsey and Taylor Lorenz, and you've got that Kat or Kate Denbage, whatever you want to call them. And they're going with the Washington Post, which enabled and allowed AH to do all the horrible stuff, which is the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, the Amazon guy who owns Amazon, and Rolling Stone. They're all jumping in on it. Rolling Stone used to be a magazine regarding entertainment and obviously rock and roll and everything else. Now it's just turned into the National Enquirer, but with a budget. That's all it is. But it does go on. Jasper Youngbear, a 55-year-old North Dakota medicine man the actor had hired as a spiritual advisor. Youngbear seems to have stoked Miller's outsized vision of themselves. Jasper was telling Ezra that he wasn't part of the movement, he was the movement. That he was the next Messiah, and that the Freemasons were sending demons out to get him. Yeah, demons. Yeah, this is what, when you hang around with people like this, and especially if you do have mental health issues, and you got someone like this Jasper guy, and he's saying that to you, you're going to start believing it, guarantee it. According to The Insider, the actor has grown increasingly narcissistic, often choosing young people for their audience because they are more malleable, which again, AH has done because photos recently have appeared on Twitter of people who are supporting AH, and they look younger than my niece. My niece is 11. These kids, they look about 9 or 10. That's what they look like. But again, we got by here, according to The Insider, he talk about the metaverse and the medicine and how they're the Messiah and what his work is here. They say their spiritual practice is to be among the people, which means the party. So, when in Iceland he was out non-stop, his favourite were raves, where he'd go on benders for 2 or 3 days at a time. Miller lives on a farm now in Vermont, which they christened The Mountain. The property, which is surrounded by dense woods, used to be an alpaca and llama farm, and features apple and blueberry orchards, 3 barns, and a modest blue-roofed house. Goats roam the premises. I'd go there, because it sounds peaceful. The house is a mess, but friends crashing didn't care. They shot arrows and went for hikes. Miller shared everything. But staying at Miller's meant abiding by the actor's rules, okay, and tolerating the long monologues. When you see this, you can only expect, and you can kind of like, right, okay, what are the rules that Ezra wants people to follow? You can probably guess. It's probably absolutely bombastic rubbish. Most likely. Ezra is Jesus and Takata's an apocalyptic Native American spider goddess. And the Union is supposed to bring about the apocalypse. Recaps one person. Another person, and that's the real reason everyone is so opposed to them being together. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, because of that that big guy and all these other people, the ones who are enabling Ezra, they've all said basically that you're Jesus. That you can come out, you're going to bring about the apocalypse and all this kind of stuff. We've seen the video on Ezra's Instagram when they posted about the KKK and all these kind of things. And it's like, dude, please just, don't do any of this. You are going to mess up of a brilliant future that you were going to have. But it just carries on. The house in Vermont contains an altar that's home to this, sage, and flash figurines, according to two people who visited this year. A lot of times he makes the women put their cell phones on the altar when they come in and other offerings, says a longtime friend. Ezra freaked out recently, demanding that Susan Sarandon come pay tribute to his altar because she didn't invite Ezra to a dinner party. Sarandon and Miller are dear friends, says Miller's representative. She adds that Miller would probably call this anecdote total BS if asked. Susan Sarandon did not respond to a request for comment. Yeah, more than likely because it's, it's like, yeah, they're probably not friends. Or they are friends, like a lot of the Hollywood actors are. You see them, they go, oh, hi, how are you, blah, 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 quick chat and gone. That's probably what does happen. But seeing all of this, and by the way, we're only halfway through the actual article itself, which I will be cutting this video because this is where we're going to end, because it's like I say, it's actually a huge video. It's just crazy. I really do hope that Ezra does get the help they need, because when you've got all these people around you like this, they can do nothing but harm. That's all they can do to you. And even though you are outspoken regarding your mental health, and you talk about it, and you basically, like Ezra said, I'm going to get help, this, that, and the other. You need to do that, but then you need to get rid of those people who are surrounding you when you are going through everything, because they are the enablers. It's like with addicts of alcohol and other substances. When you got all of that and it's mixed together, it does go wrong. Because if you're around people who continue to drink or do other things, they're going to force you into doing it, or you're going to think, oh, I need to do it because they're doing it. Again, we may not know if Ezra's strong enough to be able to go, no, I'm not doing that. But by their recent actions, it kind of looks that they're not that strong enough to do it. That's my opinion at the moment. But this is what we got, guys, for this first part of the article. So if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for future updates, and I'll see each and every one of you soon.